understood that the Jubilee is a national party, first of all. And we have over 7 million registered members in our party. DCP is a very new party. In fact, the party leader of DCP, Gachagua, is a former Jubilee member of parliament. So he's a former member of Jubilee party. And I mean, he understands Jubilee very well. Moving forward, I don't think there should be a competition between the DCP party leader and Matiang'i, because the DCP party leader should be able to engage the other party leaders the same way he's engaging with Martha Karua, with Eugene Wamalwa, with Kalonzo and everyone else. Can he just leave our presidential candidate alone? And if the DCP party leader has an issue or a beef to pick with Uhuru Kenyatta, let him face His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, let them iron out any pending issues that could be there. And we know there are many, but he should actually leave our presidential candidate, Fred Okango Matiang'i, alone.
Right. And it truly does appear that it's an issue between the DCP and now Jubilee. And a few months back, the former deputy president was very clear that he wouldn't mind working with Uhuru Kenyatta. Probably the retired president was not as quick to move with that. Do you think that is what the complication is, that the relationship between the former deputy president and the retired president is a complication here? That because Fred Matiang'i was open to the idea of working with the United Opposition from the start.
He's been attending meetings with us, and I don't think there is anything new that has happened. If he was to be declared the presidential candidate for Jubilee, that's still in order. Kalonzo has been declared by Wiper. Martha Karua was declared herself the other day, the same Friday, and there's nothing wrong. What is important in terms of conflict management, it's important to identify what are the silent issues that are affecting us. And once you have identified, then we think of how to resolve them. Because at the end of the day, I may not be persuaded fully by Wakili that we go separately so that Ruto is knocked out of the first contention, because if he has capacity to steal in the first round, he has also capacity to steal and make himself one of the front runners in terms of going for round 2. But the most important thing, I just want to assure you and assure the Kenyan people that Matiang'i's presence in Jubilee Party is not a minus for us. It's a plus, because it's coming with an entity that we know, and already Jubilee has been working with us. So
what about the Uhuru factor? Because
the Uhuru factor,
if he remains party leader for Jubilee, definitely that would mean something for...
There's no problem. Yeah? There's no problem, because you see, personal issues will be resolved at personal level. Party issues will be resolved at party level. So at the end of the day, if we separate these issues, because you know there are two issues in terms of conflict management. It's either something about a belief or about resources. And it is easier to resolve an issue about resources. Maybe it is parcel of land, half acre for you, half acre for me. But when it comes to belief, it is finer and more complicated. Because I see we are dealing with the issue of belief. People believing this set belongs to that place. But when they pronounce some of those words, it is better. I wanted to assure Cathy, whoever said something in church in Kajiado, it is good they are verbalizing it so that we know what is the problem. Then once we know the problem, then we sit down and we take our expertise into action and we resolve that particular issue. For me, I'm so confident that as long as Jubilee is one-term proponent, and we are also saying one-term proposition on our side, we have no problem whatsoever. We'll resolve this issue. After all, Gachagua was a peer to Uhuru Kenyatta. And when two brothers fight, people who have been very close, they fight at times. If you are not part of the family, you pull back and you check what is the best strategy and who are the people who can be sent to resolve that particular issue. We have enough elders on our side, Jubilee has enough elders, we'll resolve this issue.
Right.
I want to assure Kenyans.
And you seem to have actually come up with a lot of confidence, because I can see Cathy just nodding as you speak. And it would appear you already sold.
Yeah. No, I'm just agreeing. I'm just agreeing with him that you know, politics in this country, majority of these people are not strangers. They know each other.
They know each other.
And people have come a long way, just like Wakili here is saying. And people can always sit and talk, and that is what I said in the beginning. But then let's come with clean hands. I mean, that is the most important. I mean, and because I can still feel like there's something that is not clear yet, let me confirm that the Jubilee Party is in, we support the Wantam movement. It is very important that I say that now, because there's been a lot of speculations, and for us, we support the Wantam. I mean, why would we be having a presidential candidate if we don't believe in the Wantam movement?
Right, wonderful. We have about 7 minutes or so 2 minutes each for your final comments. Start with you, Wakili.
Yeah, the three things. Number one is all parties that believe in the Wantam movement, they need to be as strong as possible wherever they have influence. Because there is a little mathematics that people do not work on, which is this, that assuming you are divided, there are 10,000, there are 10 votes, and he's able to get 3, she's able to get 3, and I'm able to get 3. It would effectively means that 7 votes have been taken up. So that if you are our common enemy, there is no way you can get 5, because we've already taken 7. And that is how things work out in reality. Now, I say that for the simple reason that there is what I call a knee-jerk reaction. When you propose and say, because you will never have a stronger candidate than Raila Odinga amongst the so-called united opposition. If the strongest candidate of the opposition has only come so far and never winning, the notion, and here I speak as a constitutional lawyer, the notion that you will be able to defeat an incumbent president, given Kenya's ethnic structure, through the so-called round 1 election is almost next to 0. But when you do the maths, and one of these days we shall do the maths with my colleagues here and probably yourself, is that you get yourself into a scenario that the largest political constituencies as they exist today, Raila Odinga and the probability of the one term of people like Rigathi Gachagua and Kalonzo Musyoka getting the second or first largest constituencies are very high. And so that as long as you ensure, for example, in central Kenya, that the alternative to DCP will not be UDA is Jubilee, then it means that UDA is unlikely to get the 20 to 30% that it needs to get for it to be viable at all. So that a stronger Jubilee is not bad. It's the same thing that would happen in Ukambani, and the same thing that you remember the last time. I think Azimio had about 1 million votes. William Ruto had a third, 300,000 votes. It is part of those reasons that made William Ruto to be competitive for purposes of the last election. And of course, the low turnout in Luo Nyanza. Therefore, I want people to think broadly about what is deliverable. Because you see, the truth of the matter, we know some of the internal conversations. I know them personally from involvement by people who are involved. When you speak to IPA people, they say, we expect it to be our candidate or we go on our own. DCP, the only way that this Uhuru Kenyatta can continue to get some leverage in Kenya, I expect Matiang'i to go all the way, okay? Therefore, the notion that, and I want him to be, and he will be a strong candidate, a Matiang'i candidature will at least get 15% of the national vote in Kenya as a minimum. If he gets that, then you are sure there will be a second round. Okay. So for me, the responsible thing is to say, let us work on what is likely to happen rather than the fantasy that you are going to beat Ruto in that round. Secondly, on the accident, I come from Nakuru County. My condolences to those who died. And having said that, I think it is not too much for the government of Kenya. That stretch, the majority of accidents that keep happening in the Naivasha stretch to Nakuru, it's around that stretch. And I believe it accounts for more than 70%. Right. I don't think we need to wait for the World Bank, the Chinese, or anybody else to do a stretch of 30 kilometers that accounts for the majority of those accidents. And to behave, if Rwanda is doing so many things, and Rwanda, the central Kenya, has a bigger economy than Rwanda, we can be a little bit more ambitious. Okay. So I would urge Kenya Kwanza to try to be a little bit more ambitious and reserve in the next budget cycle, even the next supplementary, some money to deal that road, even as we wait for the bigger project to happen and reduce these unnecessary deaths.
Thank you so much, Wakili. A minute for your parting shot, Wendy.
In Dimuli, I think as we continue to have these kind of conversations, let's remember that the median age in Kenya is 19 years. Let's remember that we have a majority of voters, and the people who are going to make key decisions in this country are actually the young people. Most of the conversation that we keep having seem to actually distance from this particular group. And even as we look into the future, it is very important that we trend carefully, because I believe some of the narratives that we keep pushing, and one of the old narrative that has been pushed from the time I was a very young girl is the tribal card, where we say that the Kikuyus, the Kisis, the Kambas and all that, the young people do not think that way. Okay. And the young people, because they are going to be a key component of the people who are going to vote in 2027, might just surprise us. And I believe they will. If they register as voters, come out to vote as expected, they will really surprise us. What we keep discussing here is totally different from what is in the hearts of millennials and Gen Zs.
Thank you. Finally, Monakiro.
For me, I just want to affirm that the most important thing is for us to have consultations across the board. That's the only way we can ensure that we hand over this country to Kenyans. And the Kenyans that she's talking about are the same Kenyans, because I have them either as my grandchildren or as my children under that particular bracket. Those of us who are above 60, we are only 3%. And many other Kenyans are down. And I also, let's remind Kenyans for the first time, perhaps, that Kenyatta was above 70, and his cabinet was the youngest ever. No other cabinet has been younger than that of President Kenyatta. He had people in their 20s being cabinet ministers. Today, you find the mean for the mean age for the current regime is 58 years. So that is the difference. You can be old, but you go for young people to perform.
Oh yes, indeed. And thank you for reminding Kenyans that they need to go and register, especially the younger generation. And Mwangi Gitonga says, absolutely, it's the only way we are saving this nation. Pareng Apax Elijah agrees and says, I have registered, someone must go home. Gladstone Obomu says, I have already registered as a voter, and what is holding me back from voting is time. Yes, thank you so much. On the other issue that we've been discussing, James Kikuvi says he's a former president. I was talking about Uhuru Kenyatta, just hyped by the media. Elias Dan Dombera says, mi ndio wa kwanza comment section, so unaona serikali wanajua Uhuru has a great influence in the politics of Kenya come 2027. Last 2022, he gave us direction, but because some groups only, okay. This time around, we just wait for direction. He will give us follow for follow. Edward Bitonyi, Uhuru alisema ukweli kabisa kwa sababu tunaumia, shida iko tena kubwa zaidi ni kuvumilia, na hawa watu wakiambiwa ukweli hawataki kusikia. And finally, Adamson Muriki says Uhuru Kenyatta's voice will be taken seriously now than before, not only in the Mount Kenya region. Just some of your sentiments, and the conversation will definitely continue online on our X page. Our handle is at TV47 Digital. It is TV47 Kenya on all our social media pages, YouTube, Facebook, and even Instagram. Thank you so much to Kipruto Rapkirwa, who served as Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki One administration, also as member of the National Assembly representing Cherangani constituency, Cathy Irungu, governance analyst, and Kibe Mungai, advocate of the High Court, our panelists this morning. And thank you so much for your time at TV47. The headlines once again, bandits in uniform, that's the standard. Very little politics on the front pages. New battle on Ruto policies. That's a Daily Nation. Of course, that story about the accident, the unfortunate tragic accident at Kariandusi, also featured there prominently. Matters economy, high economic strain forces job cuts and farm closures. And we do expect, according to this paper, 66,000 other jobs to be lost if the AGOA deal falls through. Treasury expands borrowing options amid rising debt pain. And someone was saying that probably Treasury should be converted into the Ministry of Debt. Now that's all they do. Well, my name is Fred Ndimuli. After the break, Morning Blitz. Good morning.